Welcome back to part 2 of our claims extravaganza this spring. And I'm saying it kind of tongue-in-cheek, lighthearted like that, because if you listen to part 1 and if you're tuning in for part 2, then you're obviously a super, super nerd on insurance and claims. No, I'm joking. You're probably a normal camp professional going, wait, what? What do I have to remember? And that's exactly why we have friends from Chalmers Camp Insurance here, Carissa and Ethan. Thank you once again for joining us. Part 1 was about the auto side of things. So if you're starting here, go back to part 1 after this. It's a little beefier, a little more in depth. Because there's just a couple more things to cover in that. But on the other side, workers' comp. I'm going to be very, very honest, because once I turn it over, I'm going to be paying attention very closely. Before we got started, I admitted I thought workers' comp was just the punchline to a joke. You know, you bump your head in the office and you go, "Ooh, ow, workers' comp, ha ha ha." That's just me being fortunate to never have to encounter it. So when Ethan and Carissa were like, "No, that's actually something that's not a pain, but something that we like to remind folks of every summer," I was intrigued. So here we are again, part 2, the kind of ACA New England Chalmers partner check-in summer send-off portion of our show, reminders around claims, and we're going to be talking about workers' comp. And it's your turn. Ethan, Carissa, take it away.
Awesome. Well, thanks a bunch, Bud. We appreciate you having us on. With camp season just around the corner, woohoo, right? We thought it'd be a great opportunity to share with the camp community some best practices when it comes to workers' comp claim reporting. Our camp counselors and employees are our most valuable asset at camp, right? And we want to make sure we keep them safe. With that said, accidents happen, right? And just the nature of activities at camp can lead to some injuries at times. Injuries by employees at camp are covered under your workers' comp policy. You know, it is very important, though, that there are some time-sensitive guidelines for reporting claims on workers' comp. So with that said, timely reporting. Workers' comp reporting is very time specific based on your state that you operate in, whether that's Maine, New Hampshire, Mass, Vermont, etc. When an employee says that they get hurt at work or may be hurt at work, you need to investigate it as an employer, ask questions, and report it, right? It is your obligation as an employer to ask questions about a workplace injury. Once that employee notifies you, that's when the clock starts ticking on reporting the incident. You can find your state requirement in the beginning of your workers' comp policy. It will spell it out right there of what the reporting time period is. You can also reach out to your insurance agent or the state directly if you have any questions.
I think it's also important to note that the state will impose fines if you don't report them in time. They are not friendly about it. They're not going to say, "Oh, sorry, you knew. You didn't, you were busy." Okay, they will impose the fine. And reporting process. It's important that your staff know your camp's policy for reporting injuries. Your staff needs to know who's going to report those injuries, and the person they go to needs to know what to do, what questions to ask, the procedures in place, when to report it, etc. In a nutshell, it's important that your staff know how to report it and who's going to report it. So that way you make sure it's done correctly, and that way you're not doing a bunch of follow-up paperwork, but also that your camp is not getting those fines from the state. And I think one thing that we didn't note that I'm going to mention also is engaged play. Make sure your staff remembers that they're the counselor, not the camper. And that while it's fun to, go out and play soccer, play sports with the campers, have them remember that it's not competitive for them. They need to make sure that they're remembering that they're the counselor. And Ethan, do you have anything else to add for tips?
I can be guilty of that at times sometimes.
I'm not surprised at all.
That's what I was about to say.
If I remember correctly, Ethan, at the conference, I said, "Oh, let's just get a video of you playing basketball." And next thing I know, my coffee was knocked over. So not surprised.
Married to the game.
Just having fun.
100%.
But we hope these tips help everybody have a safe and awesome camp season.
And actually, I'm glad. Thank you for that, Ethan. I stepped on your toes because I was just saying I felt a little overwhelmed there at first, and then it dawned on me. No matter who you are, even the director, you don't necessarily have to be overwhelmingly involved with every single step along the way. It's important that you have a system, a process involved, and that everybody along there knows. Because I can hear myself and some friends going, "Camp counselors don't need to know, and they don't know how to grasp our workers' comp policy. They don't need to know the policy. You need to know the policy. They need to know, who do I turn to if I get hurt while I'm working? That's it. And how soon do I have to do it? Like you said, the timeliness thing, I chuckled when you said there will be fines. Yeah, the government's not in the business of cutting a break here. Don't come at me. But at the same time, you made it sound like down the road, if you just don't report it and it gets organically worked out, can you still be held liable down the road if the summer comes and goes and, that staff member maybe didn't disclose it? Is that why it's so important to really hammer home anything between 9 to 5 or sun up to sundown or whenever you're contracted here, come to us. You're not going to be in trouble. Otherwise, it's just really important, right?
100% correct on that, Bud, as well. Now, claims will be covered, right? Insurance companies want to know about those claims immediately when they do, right? So if there is somebody that is potentially injured at work, the faster that we can get in front of that, the more likely that is to not become a bigger problem.
Fair. Just risk management 101. When in doubt, under the rug is not where you want to sweep the dirt. So thank you all so much once again. And I know I speak for Chalmers and for both Carissa and Ethan when I say, if you have questions about this, they're happy to connect on anything. If you want to ask me, I'm happy to then connect you with them, or I know what I know and I know what I don't. And thanks to my conversation with them today, I know just a little bit more about workers' comp. So once again, thank you so much. Keep being there for one another, folks. We're always going to be here for you. Y'all have a great week.
Thank you, Bud. And we're here to help you regardless of if you're a Chalmers customer or not. If you have a question, you need a resource, reach out to any one of us and we'll be sure to get it to you.